So summer does not officially end for another 2 weeks at fall equinox, but how many of you feel like your summer mindset is over, that it ended at Labor Day weekend? Yep. But the thing, though, is that shift makes September one of the most auspicious times of year for new beginnings, second only to New Year's resolutions in January. So what might you feel led to do, to change, or to let go of in this new season? As a guide, I recommend Oliver Burkeman's book, Meditation for Mortals, 4 Weeks to Embrace Your Limitations and Make Time for What Counts. Has anybody read this or maybe his earlier book? All right, I see a few hands out there. I'm excited to share some insights from this with you because I read a lot, and last year this made my top 10 best books of 2024 list. A few years ago, I did preach a sermon inspired by his previous book, 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals, and that book made my top 10 best books of 2021 list. One of the reasons I've become such a fan of Burkeman's work is that he challenges us to see that facing the reality of our finitude can be both liberating and clarifying. The average life expectancy in the United States is about 78 years old. That means if you're alive long enough to blow out candles on your 80th birthday cake, I know some of you have already done that, congratulations. But if that's the case, you will have lived just over 4,000 weeks. That doesn't seem like much to me, and to me, weeks increasingly feel like they are just flying by. Anyone else experience that? All right. But here's why realizing that the average person has a mere 4,000 weeks or less on this earth, here's why that can be liberating. Burkeman writes, rather than fueling the fantasy of one day I will bring everything under control, he says, you can just take it as a given, you will never get on top of everything. You will never feel fully confident in the future, not just right now when our future is very precarious. You will never feel fully confident in the future, and there will always be too much to do and not enough time to do it. I'll be honest, I don't love that hard fact about reality. I wish it were otherwise. I really want to get to the bottom of my to-do list. But for better or worse, I think Burkeman's right. And I really think that the sane choice is, and by sane I mean like in touch with reality, the sane choice, the choice that's aligned with the nature of reality, is letting go of the delusion that we will ever reach the end of all that we want to do and accomplish. There simply is not world enough and time. That brings me to the clarifying part. Because we have such limited time, we should give ourselves permission to focus on what really matters and let go of what doesn't. I've missed you all on Sunday mornings this summer, but I'm grateful to Ursa and our many talented speakers and musicians for holding down the fort. I used my vacation and study leave to spend more time with my family. My son will not always be 2 years old and eager to spend time with me. But one of the downsides of being a minister is that you're pretty much always working on the weekend, so it makes it hard to have that regular family time. I also used this summer to focus on some long-term projects for UCF, so I was still working a lot of the summer just during the week. And I did check some items off of my to-do list. But even with taking time away from preaching, there's still about 16 things that I'm trying to really get to around the house, 10 or so side projects that I'm working on here at UCF, and that's in addition to the usual week in and week out stuff, 10 other projects I'm trying to get to. And there are about 40 to 50 items that I've formally written on a someday list, things I'd really like to get to, but may never have time for, and that's just the stuff I've written down. So you can think about what this looks like in your life. If you have finished everything on your to-do list and your house is completely in order and all of your goals at work and in volunteering are fully accomplished, is that anybody? We can talk, because I have some things for you to do. Now raise your hand if you feel like you will never get to the bottom of your to-do list and all sorts of unexpected problems and distractions keep popping up along the way. As we move into this new congregational year, filled with hope about all that we might accomplish individually and together, balanced by the reality of our finitude, let me share some insights and highlights with you from Berkman's work in 4 areas. Number 1 is being finite. There really is a significant psychological shift that happens when you fully grok that most of us will never get everything done on our to-do list. That it's not merely difficult to do that, it is actually impossible. This realization prompted me to create that nightmarishly long someday list of 40 to 50 things, because it used to be that my list was 60, 70, 80 items long. But I took everything off, I made myself choose 10 priorities, and I put everything else that I could onto a someday list, knowing that I may never get to it. And what that's done is create a much more manageable list of about 10 projects that are still hard to get to, but 10 projects is more than enough to be juggling. I'm doing my best not to add anything new to that top 10 list of priorities until I've completed 1 or more on the current 10. I've also particularly come to appreciate Berkman's favorite metaphor that life is much more like a kayak than a super yacht. It's not that I particularly even want a super yacht, but I resonate with the analogy of wanting a greater sense of control than that is actually possible. Instead of kayaking, where we're vulnerable to being tossed around or even capsized or tossed upside down, it's understandable to sometimes wish, could I just ever be the captain of a super yacht, calm and in charge and just programming my desired route into the ship's computers? But life has a way of surprising us in ways we don't see coming, or icebergs for super yachts. Someone gets sick, your car breaks down, something goes sideways in your carefully laid plans. I suspect many of you can think of examples that have happened in your own life or the life of those you loved just in the past few weeks. That's reality. Unexpected waves of unforeseen problems, they're just always going to keep coming at us. That is just the nature of things. The truth, as Berkman puts it, is that you will always be the kayak and never the super yacht. This insight can actually free us, though, to focus our limited time and energy on the few things that matter most to us or actually have the greatest impact. As the saying goes, pick your battles. No, pick fewer battles than that. Put some of those battles back. That's still too many battles. Sometimes the wisest answer is subtraction, not addition. What tasks might you punt onto a someday list to allow you to really, actually focus on your top few priorities? Our second point is taking action. Given our finitude, what do we want to be sure to focus on in the limited time that we have? What do you feel most called to do with your particular skills and resources, personality traits, in the place where you actually find yourself? What is the next right step for you, and just the step after that? And that might be enough to focus on, but to actually get those steps done, 2 steps forward. For me, that can sometimes look like setting aside even an hour a day to focus on those small tasks around the house that really, really need to get done. If you truly give yourself even an hour a day, 1 or more times a week, you will see steady progress on the little things. I saw that this summer with our basement. It was ridiculous. And my wife was like, how do we even start? And I said, we start with 1 hour in one corner. And then the next day, we do the corner over to that. And we did that, and only a few days this summer, and our basement, I'm not showing it to any of you, but it looks so much better than it did, and you can actually get around in it and find stuff. If your life and schedule allow, taking action can also mean carving out 3 to 4 hours ideally in the morning with your first and best energy for deep work on what matters most. That's how these sermons get written. That's how I get as much reading done as I do. If you keep at it, the words and the pages or whatever the thing is for you, it really does start adding up and snowballing. If at all possible, do not start your day with meetings or email. I have fallen into that trap so many times. And it is too easy to spend hours in meetings or chasing that elusive inbox zero, and like as you're clearing them out, they're coming in. Try pushing emails and meetings to the afternoon if you can, and prioritize projects that matter most. Even if you can get just an hour or two in the mornings, then it's done, and your snowballing is continuing. Your steps are continuing in the direction you're trying to get. Let me just give you some examples of how much really can be accomplished if you can prioritize 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours of focused, deep work each day without stopping to check email, without stopping to check social media, without other distractions. And if that's not possible, even again, 1 or 2 hours of deep work, even once or twice a week, it will add up over time. So here's some examples. Charles Darwin achieved his breakthroughs. He would spend 2 90-minute periods and 1 1-hour period each day devoted to deep concentration. I've collected all this stuff. Now, what does it mean? Virginia Woolf was only 59 years old when she died, but by writing 3.5 hours a day, that's all she would write, she produced 9 novels, 50 short stories, and 3 book-length essays before 60. Charles Darwin, Thomas Jefferson, Alice Munro, and so many others, you just see this again and again with world historic figures. They would work 3, 4, 5 hours max of really deep focused work. Anthony Trollope put it bluntly, 3 hours a day will produce as much as anyone ought to write. And that's true in other fields as well, that you'll just notice this diminishing marginal returns if you just try to keep working at your really best focused way. You then get to the meetings and the emails. This fall, are there 1 or more days in your week where you could carve out 1 to 4 hours for deep, focused, uninterrupted work on the projects that matter most to you? We will never be the super yacht, the myth of everything perfect, in control, and mastered. As you've heard me quote before, I promise you this, you are saved from perfection. The unexpected waves will keep coming for your kayak, but you really can make significant progress on a few important things if you keep at it consistently. 1 to 4 hours of deep focus, week after week. That brings us to number 3, letting go. Admitting the reality of our finitude, that most of us have only 4,000 or so weeks on this earth, and choosing to focus on what really matters, that requires us to release what doesn't really matter. What is malingering on your to-do list that you might look at and say, what if I just didn't? Or what if you made that task easier on yourself? As the parent of a 2-year-old, I love Berkman's confession of suddenly realizing I have been overcomplicating my son's 5th birthday party. He was stressing myself out because he really wanted it to go well for his kid. But when he stopped to reflect, he realized that caring deeply doesn't always mean it has to be difficult. Let's be honest. 5-year-olds are not the toughest crowd. Get some pizza, some ice cream, and some balloons with some LED lights in it, you're set. The truly difficult thing would be to screw it up. So what can you let go of? Where can you be easier on yourself? The way I'm experimenting with letting go in my own life is through exercise. There is so much I want to get done in this world, in this life, for you, for me, for the planet, that it is really easy, and it has been easy for me to throw exercise under the bus. But Berkman has really forced me to reckon with that if I throw exercise under the bus, I still haven't gotten everything on my to-do list. And if I take just an hour to exercise, I still haven't gotten everything due on my to-do list. But at least I've exercised. There are still days where it's not possible, but this summer I recommitted to either running or working out pretty much every weekday, Monday to Friday. And it really helps. I feel better, I sleep better, and I'm much less likely to get burned out, which is not good for me, it's not good for you, etc. So I'm working on letting go of only giving myself permission to exercise when I've accomplished everything on my to-do list and just doing it. Now, you can't do that with everything, but you can pick what are a few essential core things that I'm just going to do regardless, knowing that I won't get to everything. So what are one or more things in your life you might want to experience with letting go of to allow you to prioritize your well-being and resilience and what matters most to you? Number 4 is showing up. In Berkman's words, real wisdom does not lie in getting life figured out, whatever that would even mean. It lies in grasping the sense that you will never get life completely figured out, and then showing up for the messy reality that is our actual life. This, right here, right now, this is it. This is it. Don't miss it. This is our real life, the only one we're ever going to have. And here's another thing I will promise you. You can let go of all hope of a better past. And we don't have to wait for some future that is not promised that we may never reach. So the invitation is to not miss what's right in front of us right now and to show up as fully and deeply as we can in the reality of each present moment. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's easy, at least in my current reality. Parenting a 2-year-old is filled with so much joy, and it is incredibly relentless. That toddler is not going to watch himself. He would like to, but that means early mornings and evenings and weekends are filled with parenting. There's very little time for downtime or self-care, but it's also a season of life that will pass, and I don't want to miss the good parts. There's a related question I've been asking myself lately that resonates strongly with Berkman's metaphor that we humans only have about, on average, 4,000 or so weeks in this life. And the question is this: how much would my 80-year-old self give to relive this day? If I lived that long, I suspect my 80-year-old self would trade a lot for one more day of playing with Jalen when he's 2 years old. Even if those some days also wear my 47-year-old self out. But if I live to be 80, that trade will not be on offer, and I cannot get those days back that are my present reality and my present opportunity. And even if you're already 80 or older, how much might your future self a few years from now give to have your present reality right now back? I've talked to people in their late 80s or like in their 90s, like, God, I wish I'd traveled. I wish I'd done that thing that I'm not now able to do. Here's one more quote from Berkman that feels especially poignant in light of our current political reality. He says, "Here's the good thing about everything being so messed up right now. No matter where you look, there is so much work, great work, that needs to be done. You might easily," he says, "never have been born, but fate granted you the opportunity to get stuck in the mess that you see around you. Whatever it is, you are here, this is it. You actually don't matter much in the grand scheme of things. None of us do, but you matter as much as anyone ever has or will. The river of time is going to keep flowing inexorably on, amazingly, confoundingly, marvelously, and we get the brief chance to go kayaking in it." If this sermon leaves you curious to learn more, I do recommend reading or listening to either or both of Berkman's books. For now, in the spirit of embracing our limits and focusing on what really matters, I want to give the final word to the poet and activist Andrea Gibson. How many of you know her work, their work? Gibson died in July from cancer at the far too young an age of 49. Not all of us get 4,000 or more weeks. In 2023, they were appointed Poet Laureate of Colorado, and I'll share more about their life in poetry in April. I'm going to make Gibson the focus of our annual Poetry Sunday. In the meantime, if this poem leaves you curious to dive into their work, and I highly recommend it, the best starting place is probably their final book, You Better Be Lightning. As each of us discerns what really matters, what we feel most called to do and focus on in this finite time we have in this life. I invite you to hear just the final stanzas of Gibson's much longer poem. It's well more than twice as long as what I'm going to share with you. They write, "This is for the times you went through hell so someone else wouldn't have to. It's for the time that you taught a 14-year-old girl that she was powerful. It's for the time that you taught a 14-year-old boy that he is beautiful. It's for the radical anarchist asking a Republican to dance, because what's the chance of everyone moving from right to left if the only moves they ever see are on NBC and CBS? This is for the no becoming yes, for the scars becoming breath, for saying I love you to the people who will never say it to us. It's for scraping away the rust and remembering how to shine. It's for the dime you gave away when you didn't have a penny. It's for the many beautiful things we do, for every song we've ever sung, for refusing to believe in miracles, because miracles are the impossible coming true, and everything is possible. This is for the possibility that guides us and for the possibilities still waiting to sing and spread their wings inside us, because tonight Saturn is on his knees proposing with all of his 10,000 rings that whatever song we've been singing, we sing even more. The world needs us right now more than it ever has before. So pull all your strings, play every chord. If you're writing letters to the prisoners, start tearing down the bars. If you're handing out flashlights in the dark, start handing out stars. Never go a second hushing the percussion of your heart. Play loud. Play like you know the clouds have left too many people cold and broken, and you're their last chance for sun. Play like there is no time for hoping brighter days will come. Play like the apocalypse is 4, 3, 2, but you have a drum in your chest that could save us. You have a song like a breath that could raise us, like the sunrise into a dark sky that cries to be blue. Play like you know we won't survive if you don't play, but we will if you do. Play like Saturn is on his knees proposing with all of his 10,000 rings that we give every single breath. This is for saying yes. This is for saying yes. As we turn to our annual ritual of water communion, I invite you to hold into your heart this question. Letting go of what doesn't matter or what you'll never have time for, showing up for what matters most, what do you feel led to say yes to in this season of your finite life? In 1980, two Unitarian Universalist women, Carolyn McDade and Lucille Longview, created a new ritual using water to symbolize our connectedness to one another, to the totality of life, and to our place on this precious planet. The Sunday service where that first water communion was held carried the theme, coming home like rivers to the sea. Since then, it has become an annual tradition in many UU congregations to hold a water communion on the first Sunday of each new congregational year. In the words of one UU, from the scattered droplets and rivulets of our individual lives, we come together. Our lives merge, they separate, and they merge again. This flow is beautifully depicted on the wall art behind me that was painted by Hope Sorensen, who grew up in this congregation. From the rush and cascade of our daily activities, we come to this place of quiet reflection where we may pool our dreams and hopes, pause and peer beneath the surface of our lives to consider the deeper currents. Like rivers to the sea, we come to this, our spiritual home. May we each be lifted up. May we, when we are ready, pour ourselves out, receiving and sharing the blessings of this time and place and of one another. So in a few moments, if you feel led to do so, you'll be invited to come forward and share, and hear me now, a word or phrase a word or phrase about what you feel called to do in this new season that could be in your own life, that could be in the life of this congregation. And after each sharing, intern minister Michelle will be behind the table. You're invited to just take the pitcher and pour just a little bit of water into this communal bowl to symbolizing how our individual contributions flow into this beloved community. So as you reflect on what symbolic water, so to speak, you feel led to bring, consider these words from my colleague, the Reverend Gretchen Haley. Water is beautiful for so many reasons, including that it doesn't care about our borders. It seeps through concrete. It rises when we're not looking. Our bodies are made of this stubborn grace, this relentless returning, this holy refusal to be owned. So bring your water, bring the tears you've cried this year, the rage that keeps you awake, the hope that won't let you quit, and let us remember together how to move and flow. We've also placed empty cups to remind us of the many places in the world today where people do not have access to food and water. Famine in Gaza and Sudan, acute food insecurity in South Sudan, catastrophic hunger in Haiti and Mali. May these empty cups remind us of our call to work for a world in which all are fed, all have clean water, and all are able to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion.